I think what we recorded for like half hour, 40 minutes. I think people like watching videos in chunks like that anyway.
Yeah, I think you might have a point with that.
But either way, this full video will be about roughly 45 minutes to an hour's discussion after editing. Kyle, we were going to get
Yes.
into some of the maybe touchier subjects here on the latter
Yeah.
half of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, we were. And truth be told, I'm actually really excited. In a way, I'm kind of ecstatic about it. Just because on stuff like this, I really don't feel like I've ever had the chance in my life to really, talk about stuff like this, which is why I'm kind of excited, but I'm kind of nervous at the exact same time. So audience out there, for those of you watching, I just want to give you a little bit of a warning right now for those of you who are easily triggered, for those of you who might find some sensitivity in the subjects that we're about to discuss, just issuing you that warning right now, because I would like to think Nate and I are considerate people, and we're just trying to be considerate of you. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Now here's one of the touchy yet really awesome things that I think really touches on the is does art mimic life, or is life art? And I think in this book, I think that this book is a really good balance of that, because it's like in this book, like Gotham, let's be real, in this story, Gotham is a hellhole in this
Yeah, it
book. I,
sucks.
I,
No,
I
you
mean,
don't know why people live there.
I, I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, it's like people are getting robbed literally every single day, or at the very least every other day. And what was it? There's like gang violence in the streets. Like there are old villains, even new villains in this story who are like coming up and whatnot. And it's so interesting, just like all the different like dark, like really unknown elements that are in this, because here's the thing, so much of this, here's the thing, I'm not even underselling this, I'm not even exaggerating this, but so much of the crap that is happening in our society, that is happening in the world right now, is mirrored a lot in this book. It really is. And like I said, it goes back to the whole saying. It's like, does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? You know?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see, back then you were having the most horrific and painful parts of the world beamed back at you by television. But that was
Yeah.
only at the pace that TV news could give it to you.
Hmm.
Now you're having this way accelerated aided pace of having things beamed at you from online, and it's constantly beamed to you through your phone here.
Yeah.
I realize that I'm using the word being here a lot,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, but that's how it feels sometimes. Is
It
it
does.
doesn't feel like you have
Like,
a say in the matter a lot of the
yeah,
time, and I
yeah.
think that's what happens in comics too. Of the people who I love, all of the little the civilian, regular, average, everyday people
Hmm.
who are written in Dark Knight Returns,
Yeah.
because that's how they end up feeling by the end of the book, to spoil
Y-
a little bit. But well, not just the end of
Yeah.
the book, but throughout. But that's how
Yeah.
they feel. They're
Throughout the
like,
story,
we
yeah.
don't have a say in any part of our lives,
Hmm.
and the world has gone nuts. Like,
Yeah.
Robin's parents
Yeah.
say in the book, the parents you never see, who are
No.
constantly smoking weed in front of the TV
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
neglecting their teenage daughter, who runs off and becomes a vigilante herself.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
yeah.
think that's how, again, reflected then, bad back then, still similarly bad, maybe worse now,
Yeah, and I
which
think
is not great to think about.
yeah, and it's just so crazy, because I think I if anything, when Frank Miller, made this, I think that I think you gotta wonder, whenever like comic book artists, or like even book writers sometimes, or even movie makers, anyone in any medium of like literature or entertainment in the zeitgeist like that, like whenever they're making something like this, like it's like you gotta wonder, it's like, do they know the future? Do they know what's about
Oh,
to happen?
well,
Or like
well, the
what?
same, yeah.
Because it's like the parallels that are in just this book alone are crazy. It's insane.
Well, it's sad to think that's what was happening at the time too. Like,
Hmm.
you think in the 70s and 80s, if you're comparing like a metropolitan, like Newark, New Jersey, which Gotham City, people say
Yeah,
Gotham City is based
it's
on.
based on,
A
yeah,
lot of the time, it's like Newark
Chicago.
or someplace like Chicago, New York City, any of
Yeah,
these like major metropolitan areas where
yeah,
there's like insane crime happening
yeah,
quite a bit of the
yeah.
time, especially back then when there was a really
Just a mecca
things
of,
like gang violence and
yeah,
poverty and
yeah,
cultural
dr
dissolution, that kind of
drugs.
thing happening.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and they don't even really get into drugs in the Dark Knight Returns. Like they do a little bit,
yeah, yeah,
but they
yeah.
don't.
It's
But
touched
it's
on
not the
here and there.
same. It's not to the same degree as we would see in something like something more modern,
Yeah,
I suppose, something like The Wire or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
But
But
man, well, and then the discussion of vigilante violence,
yeah.
very interesting as an answer to the crime, is very,
Hmm.
it reminded me a lot of Death Wish of the sentiment to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I think I think in a way, like you said, responding to the violence with like vigilantism and whatnot, like it does, it definitely does parallel stuff like Death Wish and whatnot with these like, these hard-boiled anti-heroes who just, it's like they walk the line between, good and evil. It's like they don't care how they do something. As long as the end result to them is good, they'll do it no matter what.
Yeah, and it really like even in The Dark Knight Returns, they kind of play with that moral relativism where they're
Hmm.
like, well, you could think it was good. They do, they make fun of people like the what's his name, the psychiatrist who's taking at Arkham Asylum,
Yeah, the therapist, yeah.
who's trying to rehabilitate the worst of the
Criminals,
Batman,
yeah.
well, the worst of Batman's villains
Yeah,
as a way of making himself like a media figure. But that's the
yeah,
thing, like there is a little bit of that of an acknowledgement of what moral relativism looks like
yeah,
within the comic where they're like, hey, this is what I think would be good, comparing Batman and Superman and how they approach things,
yeah,
or seeing what happened to Selena Kyle near the end
yeah,
there, and how her
yeah.
life turned out, and how she was able to stay alive and maintain herself in a
Hmm.
world kind of post superhero, as is what it
Yeah.
was supposed to be for a little while at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, yeah, and I think yeah, and I also I'm not gonna lie, I really, really do like how the story, plays on how it's like, oh, it's a post superhero world. This is how, things have played out since that time. It's really uncertain. Like the world at the beginning of Dark Knight Returns, it is basically a blank canvas. Like there's like, yeah, there is stuff, like there's like hints and like murmurings of stuff going on, but there's nothing really like massive or torrential or whatever until you're like a few pages, into it and whatnot. And then like what was it? What's his name? When Batman finally comes into the story, like then the story takes a huge turn because it's like the Batman of the 60s. Here's the thing. And I can say this because after reading this, I'm just like, okay, this is not my dad's Batman that he grew up with in the
It's
60s and so this is not Adam West. No, 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 no. This is not him. This is someone different. This is someone who has literally had life, chew him up and spit him out time and time again. And like he just, takes it on himself to be like, okay, well, I see that Gotham City is really, effed up, and the police are basically powerless to, do anything about this, so I gotta do this myself and whatnot. And here's the thing, the Batman in this universe, he is old as crap. But the thing is, he doesn't care because he's the only one. Aside from the new Robin, but like he is the only one who sees himself as the only beacon of hope in this variation of Gotham that is so dead, so beaten down that like he basically sees himself as being the only way of, saving this, thing and whatnot.
Yeah, man.
And
It's
just wow.
uh, yeah, well, it does have that effect on you if you blow through it the way I didn't I read it piece by piece, so sort of like issue. I think it's what, a 4 issue story
Hmm.
or something like that. So I think I read it at about that pace of like an issue a day or so. And like
Hmm.
if you read it all the way through though, you're gonna your hair's gonna be blown back. It's gonna be you're
Yeah,
reading
absolutely.
it's gonna blow your mind a little bit if you haven't read it before. But
Mhm.
also it's also very familiar to people who are familiar with Batman these days because it's the Batman that influenced The Dark Knight and Dark
Yeah,
Knight Rises, and the Christopher Nolan Batman,
yeah.
very, very similar to this one. And
Hmm.
and especially like the characterization of the Joker in The Dark
Yeah.
Knight, very similar to the sort
Oh,
of like
oh,
deranged
oh,
anarchism
oh
of the
yeah, the
mutants.
oh yeah, the anarchy sort of tendencies of the Joker and the Dark Knight. Yeah, very,
Oh
very,
man,
very parallel to the Joker in this for sure.
yes. Which I love too. I love that he is able to do. That's one thing I thought was interesting in the descriptions of Dark Knight Returns as more they'll call it like gritty and realistic, and
Yeah,
this isn't some goofball fantasy. But then they
yeah,
have like talking dolls that fly around and shoot gas, and like
yeah.
it's still that's my favorite part is that it's able to like it's still a Batman story. There's still the
Yeah,
Joker and the Toymaker have a plot going
yeah,
on, and Two-Face
yeah.
has some kind of evil scheme he's putting together, and he's doing a
Hmm.
robbery and that kind of thing. I love
Yeah.
being able to thread the needle of telling a Batman story,
Hmm.
but very adult and with a
Yeah.
I heard it described as operatic, but like it
I,
feels like
I,
because they're big thunder clashes, and it's two and
yeah,
it's titans and
yeah,
it's clashing, but it's also there like the interpersonal drama
yeah,
between massive forces in the world.
yeah. Well, and also to add on to that operatic comparison that you just did, like there, like every single thing that happens in this story, it feels like there are different acts and like scenes and whatnot that are occurring throughout, the story of this and whatnot. Like here's the thing. This is actually kind of a theory slash revelation, I don't know, kind of thing that I stumbled upon last night when I was actually researching this again for the purpose of this video, which by the time I'd finished reading this last night right before I went to sleep, I thought to myself, was this a novel that turned into a comic, or was this a novel that just happened to be a comic, because like
Okay.
just because the reason why I say that is because the way that the story plays out and the way that all the characters interact and do their stuff and whatnot, this honestly, I'm not gonna lie, in some ways this feels like a really well written like book and whatnot. Not that it doesn't, like, it transcends, what a comic is and what it can be and whatnot. It's just so interesting to me, just that there's so much in-depthness, description, character interaction, and like, seriously, this
Yeah.
this
Well,
book, it's
yes.
something else. It really is.
I see what you're saying with the like, that's the criticism of comics was, before this came out and some other things too. They were sort of made like a machine process, especially starting in the 1940s when mass production became possible.
Yeah.
So, but imagine trying to get the Dark Knight Returns on a McDonald's cup. Imagine you have like an elderly Batman Funko Pop where all the
Oh,
joints crack,
oh
the
my
joints crack when
gosh.
you move it
Oh my
or
gosh.
something.
No, no, that'd be so awful. Oh
In really
man.
poor taste. Yeah, but that's what it's like. But that's why I like what you're saying there is that it resists a lot of
Yeah.
the attempts to mass produce it and turn it it resists the attempts to turn it into junk and to treat it the way the comic books were treated for a long time.
Or to just like turn it into a joke or something.
Yeah, or become self-parody, which in stuff I wanted to talk to you about that too. The way this Batman game, they talk about have you ever seen the College Humor sketch, Bad Man,
Yeah.
where he has brain damage and
Yeah.
keeps accidentally killing people?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this bat or there was recently I'm trying to remember the name of it, but there was an animated Batman movie where the villain was dark gritty Batman.
Hmm.
And that it was more of a like 60s and 70s style or not maybe not that Batman but the like the dark but the like Batman the animated series version of that Batman, and
Hmm.
the villain is a grim, sort of a parody, like an over-the-top parody of this kind of Batman.
Mm.
He's always growling. He's fucking mad, and he's gonna kill you. He's gonna beat you to death. And what other people want out of Batman, I think sometimes is to have cool gadgets, fun adventures with him and Robin,
Hmm.
and maybe like interactions with the Justice League. You get very much the opposite in this, but this is the best version of that. I think it's been done poorly before,
Hmm.
especially in imitations of this, where I'm trying to think of specific examples besides the animated adaptation they tried to make of Dark Knight Returns. Guess what? Guess what the rating for that is?
What?
It's PG-13. It's a PG-13 adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns.
Really?
Can you imagine trying to? Anyway, that's what I'm saying is that there are really weird, mismatched attempts at trying to do this version of Batman that don't understand that there's a it's a true graphic novel, and that there
Yeah.
is a sort of by the way, I should credit it was Grant Morrison who called it operatic,
Mm.
which I like Grant Morrison of The Invisibles and some other comics.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but that's what I'm saying, that like that there are those it's a little artsier than it gets credit
yeah,
for. It's not just
yeah,
this is the grown-up scary Batman,
yeah,
and
yeah.
this isn't stuff for kids, but also PG-13 because we need to market it to you. Or whatever
Yeah.
confused nonsense someone tries to throw together. No, this is the. I don't think this type of Batman has been done as well ever since. What
Yeah,
would you say?
yeah.
I think you've read a few more
I
comics than me.
I've read I have read some other Batman comics. I think personally, I think aside from this one, my personal favorite Batman, like as far as comics go, I really like the Batman Detective comics because because in my opinion that kind of plays on, it kind of balances like his ability to like really read things and take everything in and whatnot, rather than solving everything through brute force. Even though sometimes he will have to do that, it's not like
Yeah,
his main or whatever. But yeah, no, but yeah, no, I was when I was a kid, and even today, I'm still a fan of the Batman Detective Comics. But this for me is just, it's so different from that. But this is not so different from that it feels like, oh, Batman Detective Comics was like completely watered down in like the 90s or something like that. Because no, we have to remember that during that time, that was when the Batman animated show was coming out.
yes,
And here's the thing, even though that show wasn't nearly as nitty or gritty as this, from time to time it did kind of skate that fine line between,
yeah.
is this for kids or is it for adults or
Well, and that's the thing.
whatever?
I think it was all through the style though. Like it's all noir. it's all like it's
It's
meant to be like pulp. It's in the pulp noir
yeah,
style,
yeah, yeah,
but it's not at like, and occasionally like someone like dies in a dramatic way or something like that.
yeah,
But there's nobody who is like a mutant with a Batman tattoo on his face screaming about like beating to death every criminal in in Gotham City,
yeah,
or
yeah,
or somebody who like or somebody putting a grenade in the purse of a mom on the subway or something like that.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that doesn't happen
yeah, yeah,
on a Saturday morning cartoon show.
yeah, yeah,
That wasn't going to happen.
yeah, or Batman didn't like snag like a thug's gun and then like
Yeah.
shoot him in the head or something.
Oh, geez. Well, and that's one thing I thought was interesting too, to compare this Batman to other Batman. Dehumanization is a big theme, I thought,
Hmm.
in the series here, where it's the like, well, especially because so many of it's told through small panels and through television. Going
Yeah.
back to what we said earlier, the way people talk about, you're hearing people's real opinions about how they feel free to, like they talk freely about like, well, like that guy who killed the beggar on the subway,
Hmm.
or the or later in the book how people talk about how much they start being able to admire Batman's vigilantism
Yeah.
because they feel because they feel empowered,
Yeah.
not because now, you don't see. I don't think things actually got like safer immediately either. They're just like, yeah,
No.
like, hey, look, someone's fighting back. And the thing is, that really happened
Yeah.
in real life. Like that happened when there was vigilante violence in New York City in the 70s, when there was like a
Hmm.
crime wave in the
Hmm.
70s and 80s. There were people who were they were called like they were the guardian angels, and they were these guys who
Yeah.
had like red berets and
Hmm.
flak jackets and guns, and they would stand on the subways ready to blow your head off over
Yeah.
over pickpocketing or something.
Yeah. 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 I think
And yeah, we've heard of them, but I wanted to compare that to like how like the mutants in the world of Dark Knight Returns
hmm.
are just people, though. They haven't
Yeah.
had like mutagens built
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah.
They are just deranged, warped
Yeah.
kind of, and or as the psychiatrist would put it, describing them as like socially maladroit and victims of psychosis.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Just who knows to what degree that was true in the
Yeah.
comic, but that's how they're portrayed by one of the characters. That's what I wanted to compare to Batman the Animated Series.
Hmm.
Dehumanization literally happens, but it's through things like Two-Face in Batman the Animated Series.
Hmm.
You know, Harvey has like mental health personality issues that he
Yeah.
tries to deal with, but it
Yeah.
doesn't come out until the acid is thrown in
Yeah. The
his face,
accident.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, until that happens, or the or Man-Bat from the first episode. You
Yeah.
know, the scientist, he had his problems, but he didn't become a Batman villain until he was warped into a literal
Y-
like monster bat
Yeah.
creature.
Yeah.
And the Joker was just a regular
A
sort of he
regular.
was the Red Hood until he fell
Yeah.
into. You have to be in other Batman series, you have to have your biology reshaped. And
Yeah.
in The Dark Knight Returns, you can be changed through, what's on TV. You can be changed because you don't have, or in the case of Robin in here, you can be changed because your parents don't look after you. You could be changed because you saw something violent on the subway.
Yeah.
And that's that's a very, that's where a lot of the more grounded. I think that's why it gets called more grounded than anything else, because that's
Yeah.
like anybody can understand that really happening because it has.
Yeah, the story in this is definitely hella grounded. And like I also yeah, t touching on that element of like dehumanizing and whatnot, I think that's probably no, it is probably one of the better storytelling elements of this, where it's like where I think it also kind of speaks to the truth of humanity in a way, because it's like we as a species, we're shaped in a way by some of the influences that are in our environment and whatnot. And like and it's like, yeah, our choices in a way also determine who we are, but the factors of influence and change also get to us as well. And I think that Frank Miller understood that in this story and whatnot, especially when it came to, all the side characters and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, that I love that too, because it's not going back to it being operatic as well, like it isn't just like raw sociology. It's not somebody turning what's on the front page of the newspaper or in
Yeah,
the news into a
yeah,
comic book. Like it is a true superhero science fiction story.
it is. Yeah,
Superman, it still has Superman flying into a nuclear bomb and pushing it around with its strength and whipping it into the desert.
yeah,
And it still has a fight between, Batman with a high-tech tank and a
yeah, and
a super suit
yeah,
and
super armor
and
suit. Yeah,
synthesized kryptonite. So it still
yeah,
has all of like like I said with the toy maker before and the talking
yeah,
dolls and things.
yeah.
It still has all of the elements you want out of comic book, but it has its feet underneath it enough that it can take you so much deeper
Hmm.
than and I think that's what Frank Miller was trying to say is that you can go like here's some of the depths that you can go to in
Hmm.
comics if you really go for it. You can talk about these things and
Yeah.
you can even show maybe, yeah, I don't know how much his opinions have changed over the years, but you can maybe put some of your own feelings in.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily opinion, whatever the opinion would be,
Yeah.
but how you feel about the world, the real world into your comic
Hmm.
in a very visceral way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think like we said with the whole dehumanizing and the change of things and whatever. I also think that element out of the many other contributing elements of the story and whatnot, I think that has what has helped to not only have this story stand the test of time, but also why I personally feel that this story, especially nowadays where people are starting to become more in tune with their thoughts and their feelings and whatnot, like
Oh, sorry. Could you expand on that? Like how you think
um
people are
well,
more in tune with their thoughts and feelings?
I just feel like as human society goes nowadays, I feel like we're starting to like understand just ourselves as people, because like watering ourselves down and limiting ourselves as individuals, like we're starting to not do that anymore. We're starting to slowly but surely accept ourselves, fully as people and whatnot, even though there's still kind of a social stigma, but individually, people are starting to, come out of and
Yeah, that's
whatnot.
interesting. I guess you can kind of see that in The Dark Knight Returns because the only way that you can the only way you can express your true self in here is by putting on a mask and being a
Hmm.
vigilante.
And yeah,
You know?
no, I just,
Or in the
yeah.
case of the mutants or other like the only way everybody else is so repressed in there, like the regular everyday people, but to be a mutant, you have to be in this like a uniform or have those weird like the futuristic glasses on, or you have to be Batman or Superman or be somebody.
Yeah.
You have to be somebody else or a part of something else away from yourself. That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. To all of you lovely people out there, our final thoughts on this book, honestly, this comic is one of a kind. It is special. It is a dark horse. You honestly, I guarantee you will not find another comic as intriguing, as visceral, and as grabby as this is. This is something special. Do yourself a favor. Either go to your library and check this out, or go to your bookstore if they have a comic section, and if they have a copy of this, don't be afraid to spend a few bucks on this thing.
Yeah, and read more Frank Miller too. His more independent stuff like Ronin is out
Hmm.
there.
Sin City.
It's so easy to find tons of Sin City. Hard Boiled is a little harder to find, but it's out there.
Well, his
Oh
work
man,
on
300.
300, and his work on Daredevil too.
Yes. Oh man, if you can get a hold of if you have a weekend to kill, grab his Daredevil and David Mazzucchelli's Daredevil as
Mm.
well. That's a make a Daredevil weekend of both those guys. Those
Yeah.
are amazing.
Yeah, definitely make a Daredevil weekend.
Because those came out around the same time.
Mm,
And they're,
mm,
I think somewhat influenced by each other, but they were also like the coming into what comics were going to look like. And that's why,
mm.
it was Daredevil opening the door for them. And, because Dave Mazzucchelli has that same sort of, well, it actually does kind of look similar to Frank Miller
Yeah.
It does look kind of similar to Frank Miller, but
Yeah.
yeah, if at any chance you get, read more Frank Miller, read more comics in
Oh
general.
yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. But yeah, definitely check this out. Highly recommend. And like Nate said, also check out Frank Miller's other stuff. Do not make this the only laurel of Frank Miller's that you rely on. The man is a really good comic book person, and he has a lot of really good works. The only reason why we're recommending this to you is because this is one of his most well-known things, and we just happen to like it. And we just wanted to make this video to talk about our feelings on this. But no. What we are saying is please check this out, but please check out Frank Miller's other stuff. We're begging you.
All
So
right, folks. Well, I think that'll
yeah.
be it. Until next time
Yeah.
on Comic Cave.
Yes. And by the way, for all of you lovely people out there, if you have any experiences that are similar to either checking this out or checking out, hey, just any other comics that you may be interested in, let us know in the comments down below. Do not forget to subscribe and hey, give us one of these or two.
Yeah.
If you have one thumb or two, it doesn't really matter one
Yeah.
way or the other. But anyway, to all of you lovely people out there, this is Kyle and Nate's Comic Cave. We are signing off. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Later. See you next time.